very good morning to you, Nigeria, and welcome to this edition of What's Your Take, a weekly news program in which Nigerians from all walks of life, everyday Nigerians, get to express their opinions about the big stories that made the headlines the previous week. And as we know, we're in a period of great political activity, so there's big stories left and right, and every day last week there was something that trended that we're going to take a look at today. Well, on a lighter note, Nigeria now has a new definition for the word cashless. As we know, the new Naira policy is based on trying to take us into a cashless economy. And the joke on social media now is that there's a new meaning of the word cashless, which is that you have money in your bank account, but you don't have access to it, which makes you cashless, of course, because your pockets are empty. And that story has replicated itself all across the country over the weekend and all through last week. Even this morning, there are mad crowds at the ATM machines and the banking halls, and of course, at the petrol stations. So those are all the big stories that we'll be looking at. Of course, my newscaster, Yetunde Afolabi, is here, and we'll do justice to the headlines in just a minute after I introduce my guest. Yetunde, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Dayo. I'm very well, thank you.
Very good. And how did you fare over the weekend with the various queues? Did you find yourself in any queue?
It was terrible. And I'm cashless as we speak.
Yeah, you're cashless too.
Very cashless.
Well, that's just the story with just about every other Nigerian as we speak. We're all cashless. There are a few of us who have 5,000 Naira that the banks have been giving in 50 Naira notes. But by and large, most of us are cashless. But we look forward to things improving, as you'll see from some of our stories that are coming up that relates to the issue of the Naira scarcity. Well, joining me this morning to take a look at these big stories that made the headlines last week is Tohib Midun. He's an entrepreneur from the Magodo area who is into tailoring and fashion design. Welcome to the show this morning, Midun.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dyer. Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you with us.
Same here.
And how have you been faring and coping with all the queues and the issues? What impact has this Naira scarcity and the fuel scarcity had on you and your business generally?
Okay. Sure, these past weeks is really been hectic because most times I don't really have electricity. I buy fuel, I buy petrol like every day. And then we don't get fuel to buy. We buy black market, and at the black market rate now, for everyone that actually knows, it's 500 naira per liter.
Yes, and so that makes it very expensive for you to do business. Yes, I can imagine.
Well.
We're going to talk about that in a minute when Yetunde begins to give us the headlines. So over to you, Yetunde. Why don't you tell us what you have for us today? What's the first story?
New Naira Notes Shortage. I will resolve Naira scarcity in 7 days. Buhari. As the lingering scarcity of both old and new Naira notes continues to cripple economic activities nationwide and inflict enormous pains on Nigerians, President Muhammadu Buhari has promised that the crisis will be resolved within 7 days. That is, by the February 10 deadline, by which the old note cease being legal tender.
Okay, thank you, Yetunde. Well, Tohib,
yes, sir.
What do you think about this President Buhari's promise that in 7 days, first and foremost, the venue of his declaration, some
yes,
APC governors went to see him, I think, on Friday, and that was where he used the opportunity to tell Nigeria that he will resolve the crisis in 7 days. My take, and the take of a lot of Nigerians, is that the pain we're enduring now, we can't wait 7 days. We don't want to wait. We want this thing over like yesterday. Why 7 days? He says, well, he's going to summon the CBN governor. He's going to summon the people at the mint printing who print the Naira and try and see what the problem is, why there's such a scarcity of the Naira notes. But the question I want to ask you, first of all, is he spoke through the governors and he also spoke on his Twitter account.
Okay.
Do you think that the situation is critical enough for him to have addressed the nation as our leader to try and inspire hope and calm tempers down? Is it appropriate for him to have spoken just to the governors and on his Twitter account? Most of the people in the queues at the banks are not on Twitter. So for you, how do you feel that your leader or our leader is not talking to you directly at a time when there's this kind of a crisis?
Okay, good, sir. Thank you, Mr. Dare. Okay, the first thing about Mr. Buhari, he doesn't often speak to us. So for him to actually come out to actually say, okay, I'll resolve this in 7 days, I think he actually has us at heart right now because everyone is actually feeling the pain. There's no rich man, there's no poor man anymore. For you to actually be limited to what you can collect in the banking or from the POS machine is affecting every one of us. It's not even about you having 1 million or 2 million. I was at the banking on Tuesday last week or Wednesday last week. I stayed there for like 5 hours and I couldn't collect 1,000 naira. Just 1,000 naira. I had to find a POS. I walked miles or like kilometers before I got a POS that actually gave me 3,000 naira. And then they said naira to naira. Most of them now are not actually charging for every 5,000 naira, they will charge you 500 naira. For every 10,000 naira, they charge you 1,000 naira.
So you're having to pay to access your own
money. So for him to actually come out to say 7 days, I just feel he feels the pain of the commoners right now.
So are you okay? Are you saying you're okay with the fact that he doesn't talk directly to the people? Instead, he finds middlemen or middle media with which to address them. Are you satisfied? You say you believe in his word, that he'll resolve it in 7 days.
In 7 days,
Are you willing to give him the benefit of the doubt?
I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Are you willing to continue to endure the pain for another 7 days without cash?
I have endured it for like a week now. So I think I can still hold on for another week.
As long as he keeps his promise.
Yeah, as long as he keeps his promise.
As long as he keeps his promise.
Because President Buhari does not come out to actually address Nigerians. So for him to actually come out this period, I think he means it.
Okay, let's talk in general terms then. You say it's not in his nature to come out and address people.
Us.
Are you okay with that kind of a leader? Are you okay with a leader who's a bit aloof or who's reticent or who's not so open to discuss or address his people? Is that a good trait of leadership, of good governance, of democracy, that the leader doesn't often talk to people about his policies and his actions?
Okay, that's not a good trait, first of all. But for we Nigerians, we actually feel it's now a common thing for our leaders not to actually come out and address us even when we are in need of things. So right now, for him to actually come out, there's been a lot of issues, even during NSAS period. It took a while before he actually came to address us and everything. So for him to actually come out this period and say, Nigerians, I feel your pain and I'll resolve this in 7 days, I think he actually means it and he's going to do something about it.
Okay, so Tohib says we should give President Buhari and the administration benefit of the doubt, and we should continue to struggle for the next 7 days. Well, it's actually just about 5 days away now.
5 days away.
So Tohib says give President Buhari benefit of the doubt, and since Tohib is our guest today, his word is law. So we'll go ahead and give President Buhari benefit of the doubt that another 5 days from now, the Naira scarcity will be over, cash will be readily available, and our tensions will ease.
All right.
Thank you for that, Tohib. Back to you yesterday. What do you have for us next?
Fuel scarcity. Marketers kick at 195 naira per litre new price. Say it is unprofitable. As the protracted fuel scarcity crisis continues to inflict hardship on Nigerians, the NNPCL, the Oil Marketers Associations, and the downstream regulator are reported to have agreed that petrol be sold at 195 naira per litre. However, independent marketers have kicked against the new price, saying it will be unprofitable to sell at that price. In Lagos and surrounding states, most outlets that have products to sell have long queues of desperate motorists, with some selling for between 280 naira and 350 naira per litre. Over to you, Dayo.
Thank you, yesterday. Tohib, as a tailor and a fashion designer, you have your own shop. You have your machines, you have your tailors sewing for you.
Yes, sir.
How critical is fuel, petrol? How critical is availability of petrol to your operations as an entrepreneur?
Okay. It's okay. Basically, I use fuel, I use petrol every day. When I mean every day, and before now, like from last year, we've actually been having the issues of fuel being this price or this price. As long as I can actually get it at any price, I wouldn't mind. But if I have my money and I need fuel and I don't get it, that is a problem for me. All through last week, all through last 2 weeks, I've been buying black market, and it's not helping the business. The profits that we actually make on each dress we make is not much anymore. And then we now use almost all our profits, in quotes, to buy black markets. So it is not helping the condition right now. I'm not making profit, I'm not happy. My boys in the shop are not happy because we're going out, would actually stay at the, if we need to go and buy at the filling station, we can actually stay there for like 2, 3, 4 hours before we actually get like 5 liters. And then that is hours that we can actually waste because there are customers that actually needs to get their clothes done and actually delivered. So if we actually spend like 5 hours waiting for fuel to buy at maybe like 195 or 200 naira that they actually sell right now, and then eventually we get 5 liters, all those hours have been lost.
Oh yes, lost man hours, and that is critical for any small business. Yes. Now so, the thing about it that came out in the news last week, of course, is that the official price, which used to be 168 thereabouts, yes, is now 195, even though government didn't announce it officially. And when the rumor first came out, the Minister of State for Petroleum, Timid Silva, yes, denied it. He said there's not been any official increase. President Buhari has not approved officially any increase. Now reports are coming out that NNPC, the major marketers, the downstream regulator, all of them have come together and have agreed that the price should be increased to 195. Now, from what I hear you say, as long as it's available, you're happy with paying the 195.
I'm happy.
Because a lot of people are paying 250, 300 out there in Lagos. You just want the scarcity to be over and for fuel to be readily available. Yes, but the question is, at what point does it become not affordable for you anymore? Because if they remove the subsidy, word is that the pump price might be 400 to 500 naira if subsidy is not there. You are saying you are okay at 195, but where's your breaking point? At what point does it become unaffordable for you and you can't sustain your business, even if it's available?
Okay. I feel everyone will actually, it will actually pass through everyone. Because as long as I actually buy my fuel, even if I'm buying it for 500 naira per liter, it means that the charges for my dresses would actually increase.
So you'll pass the cost on to your customer.
That is how it's going to be.
But suppose your customer's income hasn't increased. Suppose his salary hasn't gone up and you double the cost of your clothes. Yes. Will he be able to come and still sew Buba and Shokoto with you?
Well, I will still have customers that will still come. Fashion business is like one of the biggest in Nigeria right now. So there's still be customers that still.
Okay, yeah, that's you individually. But yes, how about like market women, cost of food items and things like that? Will there be a commensurate increase in buying power that can now help us to adjust to the increase that everybody, not just the fashion designers, but those who sell food, those who sell recharge cards, those who sell everything we need for our daily lives, won't, as they're passing on the costs to their customer because the fuel prices have gone up, won't that affect and shrink their businesses because people cannot afford to buy those things at those higher prices? Even though you say fashion is an exception because you will still always have your customers. You are in the luxury and the high end of fashion, but we have to look at the everyday Nigerian, the common man in the street, which is what this show is all about, really, is to get the feeling and understand where the shoe is pinching the average Nigerian, so that our leaders in Abuja, in Alausa, and all the state houses of assembly will get to begin to understand how Nigerians are feeling and what they are really going through. So that's the situation with the fuel crisis. It looks like there's a price increase. It's going to be sold at 195, but some of the marketers, the independent ones, are complaining that even at 195, it's not going to be profitable for them. And as a result, they're not going to buy that fuel because if they're forced to sell it at 195, they will not make a profit and they'll go out of business. So we might still be in some serious trouble with this fuel, because if the independent marketers are not buying, because government is going to force them to sell it at 195. If they're not buying, that means we'll still have scarcity, because many of the petrol stations won't have fuel. So the jury is still out on how this one's going to play out. Let's watch over the next few days, and let's see how it goes. We'll keep you updated. Yesterday, what do you have for us next?
Elements in the presidential villa want Tinubu to lose 2023 election. El-Rufai. I believe there are elements in the villa that want us to lose the election because they didn't get their way. They had their candidate. Their candidate did not win the primaries, said Governor El-Rufai in a television interview. The governor said unnamed people are now hiding behind President Buhari to pursue their interests. Citing the issues of petrol subsidy and the recent redesign of the Naira by the CBN, Mr. El-Rufai said the president had the right to make the change, but it did not make political or economic sense at this time.
Wow, that's a bit of a weighty allegation. We've heard rumors of, quote unquote, a shadowy cabal that exists in the presidential villa since the beginning of this administration 7.5 years ago. There have always been rumors about these power brokers and the president's kitchen cabinet, who are the ones who whisper in his ear and tell him the things to do and you know, kind of teleguide his policies. Whether it's true or not, we don't know. But Governor El-Rufai has come out publicly in 2 or 3 different television interviews this past week. He alleged that there are some powerful forces in the presidential villa who do not want the APC presidential candidate to win this election. Now, that sounds scary, that inside the villa that is headed by the leader of the APC, there are people around him who are working or who do not desire the party's presidential candidate to win the ticket. I don't know if the agenda simply is directed at the candidate himself, or if it's a thing that they want power to stay in the north, or if it is that they don't want it to come back to the south. Whatever the case may be, how do you see this idea of the fact that there are forces within working against their very own party within the villa? Is it a realistic possibility? Is it just scaremongering, or is it just trying to find a victim to lay the blame on? How do you see what Governor El-Rufai said?
Okay, so thank you very much. From my own point of view, there's always going to be a mole, or there's going to be a snitch in every organization or in every company. So I think he's actually right about what he's saying, because there's no smoke without fire. So there's something happening that we ordinary people don't know. And for him to actually come out to say it, I think he knows what he's saying. He knows what he's talking about. Okay,
good. So look at the alignment and the timing of the Naira redesign and the fuel scarcity. The APC presidential candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, also alluded to this in Abeokuta last week or the week before, where he said that these things were timed to scuttle his presidential bid. Do you think that redesigning the Naira at this time, which is now causing hardship to Nigerians, and the fuel scarcity, which is also causing hardship to Nigerians, coming at a time when elections, from today, the elections are just 19 days away. 19 days away from today. Usually, historically, when elections are around the corner, the party in power will usually give palliatives, do things to endear itself to the people, because at a time of elections, you want the people to be happy with you so that they will vote you back in, even if not your own administration, but your successor. They want your party to be perpetuated in power. So does it not look weird that 19 days to the election, things are happening that are making the electorate feel disaffected towards the administration and the party that the administration represents?
It is very, very weird. And coming from El-Rufai, that is very, very shocking, because is a powerhouse among the APC what is called group.
Yes.
So for me, it is weird, and really I know it's going to affect them a bit.
You think it'll have an impact on the outcome of the elections?
It would.
You think so?
Yes.
You think enough people are upset with APC based on what is happening now that they will take it out on the party?
They still have their loyalists. Everyone has their own loyalists. But I think it's going to affect the people that have not decided on who to go for.
The undecided voters.
Undecided voters.
And our understanding is that the undecideds constitute quite a big chunk
yes.
of the registered voters.
Because the new registers are just young, like mainly young people.
Yes.
And then most of them don't really have
a preference. Yes, I see.
So.
Okay. Well, over to you, APC. From what our guest is saying today, you need to get your act together in the next 19 days. The administration needs to definitely resolve these two lingering issues that are causing hardship to Nigerians, because it seems it may have an impact on the way certain undecided people vote. So APC, please pull up your socks and get busy with resolving these issues. Yetunde, what's next?
Southern. Middle Belt leaders endorse Peter Obi ahead 2023 election. Leaders of thought and elder statesmen from 4 of 6 geopolitical zones of the country, under the umbrella of the Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum, SMBLF, led by South-South leader Chief Edwin Clark, have endorsed the presidential candidates of the Labour Party as their candidates for the February 25th presidential election.
Well, Peter Obi seems to be getting an avalanche of endorsements. Of course, we remember the big one from President Obasanjo, and now for him to have got the endorsement of this South and Middle Belt group seems to be a boost for his campaign. What I want to know from you is, Tohib, is do endorsements really matter? I mean, to the average Nigerian who's trying to eke out a daily living, who already has some sort of feel and opinion about who they will vote for, do these endorsements really make a difference? I mean, when because President Obasanjo endorsed Peter Obi, does that mean I will now go out and vote for Peter Obi if I weren't planning to vote for him before? What is your feeling? Can you be swayed by an endorsement of from any public figure, maybe a Nollywood celebrity, maybe a former president, maybe even a cleric? Yeah. Can you be swayed by an endorsement of a powerful public figure who tells you, okay, this is who I like? Yeah. If he likes that person, does it make you like that person as well?
Personally, no one can actually change my mindset on who to go for. Well, I'm pretty sure I have a lot of people that would actually feel, okay, yes, because Mr. A is going for this person, then I'll actually follow this Mr. A. But personally, I wouldn't do that.
So what you're saying is the endorsements do matter. They make a difference.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Yes, it adds to the gravitas, it adds to the appeal, it adds to the electability of the candidates.
Yes, sir.
That's interesting.
Yes, well, not for me personally.
Not for you personally, but for the average Nigerian. You think that's the case? Yeah. Well, if that's the case, then Peter Obi is looking good, because apparently he seems to have a lot more endorsements. And if Tohib is correct, that in general, there will be Nigerians who will be swayed by endorsements, then, maybe Peter Obi is the man to watch out for in these coming elections. We have 19 more days to find out. And the funny thing is, very quietly over the weekend, INEC ended its PVC collection. Remember that exercise was extended by a week, previous week. It ended yesterday. We didn't hear anything about it. I don't know what the numbers are from Nigerians who actually took advantage of the 1-week extension to go and get their PVCs. But the bottom line is the exercise is over. So all of those who have not received their PVC now will not be voting in the upcoming election. But those who have it, by now, we hope you already know who you're going to vote for, and you will come out on that day so that your votes will count. All right, Yetunde, what do you have for us next?
Diazani Alison Madueke moves to recover seized assets. Former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Mrs. Diazani Alison Madueke, has prayed a federal high court in Abuja to vacate an order granted to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for final forfeiture of her seized assets. The news agency of Nigeria reported that the anti-corruption agency had planned to conduct public sale of all assets seized from Alison Madueke, beginning from January 9, as contained in its public notice following various court judgments/orders. issued in favor of the Commission as final forfeiture orders against property and personal effects of the former minister.
Now, Tohib, this is really a very stupendous story, because what has essentially happened here is that the federal government has accused the former petroleum minister of being corrupt while in office, of corrupt enrichment. And during that time, she used diverted funds belonging to Nigerians, to the people, to acquire a lot of property. I remember a story about a brazier she has that is worth several million, maybe dollars or pounds or whatever. I guess it's gold studded or diamond studded, to the extent that she bought lots of expensive houses in Abuja and things like that. So through the EFCC, the government went to court to try and claim that property back, and they got a court judgment in their favor, getting forfeiture of these properties, meaning that they took them back from that woman, saying you didn't buy them properly, you didn't buy them with honestly earned money. So they seized the properties and they put them up for auction a couple of weeks ago. Now, Alison Madueke, who is in the UK and has stayed in the UK to avoid extradition to Nigeria to face charges of corruption, she's now fighting to get the property back. She's gone to court. Now, is that not a slap in the face of Nigerians that somebody who has been adjudged, but don't get me wrong, she's not been tried in court.
Okay, good.
So she's not had her day in court yet. But based on preliminary investigations, they seized the property and they said, come and show us how you acquired this property. Yes. She didn't come. She didn't show up. And of course, silence is consent, meaning that I'm not contesting what you've accused me of. I'm not contesting it. Okay. So the government seized the property. Now she has gone to file in court to try and fight for the property, despite her having been shown to have acquired these properties through corrupt means. How do you feel? First of all, how do you feel about public officials stealing the Commonwealth and depriving the average Nigerian of the dividends of democracy or the national cake that all of us should share?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dyer. Personally, I feel really, really bad about this issue, because I don't know how the federal government actually owes on. I don't know how the courts issue actually works in Nigeria, because I'm not into law and everything. But I'm pretty sure she has someone that would actually advise her to go through that legal process. If they've tried her and she didn't show up, I'm pretty sure she would actually have spoken to our own lawyer, and our lawyer would say, okay, you can still get all this thing back. She won't just come out and say, okay, I need this property back. It's not possible. She would actually get advices from our legal people.
Yes.
So from my own point, I feel she has a backup somewhere.
Yes, but from a moral standpoint,
Yeah.
let's talk about our leaders and corruption. From a moral standpoint, first of all, how much was her salary anyway that she can now have 10 mansions in Abuja that are worth 500 million each? So from a moral standpoint, our leaders, this notion of corruption, and you know that was basically what brought down the Jonathan government, was allegations of incompetence and corruption. And she was an arrowhead in that administration. Yes. So my question to you is, what kind of a Nigeria are we looking forward to tomorrow, especially now that the elections are coming up, in terms of corruption within the political system? Our leadership, it seems as if to say many of our people go into public service to serve themselves and their families and not the generality of Nigerians. So how do you see this issue of corruption? President Buhari came into office on the altar of fighting corruption. Has he achieved that? Do we still have corruption in high places in government? And what do we look forward to in the upcoming election in terms of our new crop of leaders?
That is one thing. That is one thing about Nigerians. I think all of us would actually say, it is me and my family first.
Yes.
For every one of us.
Yes.
And that is not what it's meant to be. We're actually meant to actually think about the collective goals.
Yes.
Yeah. That is one thing I actually like about this man, Mr. Peter Obi.
Okay.
Because for him to actually come out and say, investigate me, check out my source of what's it called, making money. You get, check me out and everything. I am not corrupt.
Okay.
Do you get? And that is what we actually want right now. If the head is not corrupt, I'm pretty sure it's going to
trickle down.
Trickle down.
Aha.
Yes.
Very good.
So, yes, Mr. Buhari, or President Buhari actually has something that he actually wanted to achieve, but then he couldn't achieve it. I'm pretty sure this person that would actually come in would actually achieve it if he wins. I mean, Mr. Peter Obi.
All right. Okay, well, we've heard from Tohib. He of course, is against corruption, as all of the rest of us Nigerians are, and we really look forward to the fact that whoever wins out of the forefront runners, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and Rabiu Kwankwaso, whichever one of them comes into office, as Nigerians, we look forward to and hope that they will run a prudent, honest, straightforward, progressive administration that will do its very best for all Nigerians and move the country forward. Well, we thank you for joining us on this edition of What's Your Take? I want to say that we're grateful to our guest, Tohib Midun, for joining us today. We also thank Yetunde Afolabi, our newscaster, our producer, and of course, all of you Nigerians who joined us to partake in this showing today. We hope that we have brought some information, knowledge, and interpretation to you about some of the big stories of last week. And we look forward to being here again next week to do more of the same. I will take this opportunity to ask you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. All our social media handles are on your screen. And in the event that you need more information, kindly log into the website, and that address is also on your screen. My name again is Dayo Akintobi, and it's been a great pleasure. See you again soon.